Thank you, Allison. Okay, so welcome everybody. So this is our first iCHORDS annual members meeting, and I'm Rachel. I'm the Community of Practice Manager for iCHORDS. And so because this is our first meeting, and even we're only 5 months into this year, and we've already had close to 100 members join just within these few months. So we thought that it would be a good chance to overview how iCHORDS got started, what the plans are for iCHORDS, and different ways for you as members to get involved, just because we have so many people joining us recently, and since this is our first one, it would be great to get everybody up to speed and review why iCHORDS is here and what we hope to accomplish. And so we also want to open the floor up to you as members to give us some feedback about things you like, things you don't like, things you want to see, or just general comments that you've maybe had in the back of your head but haven't had the chance to share. And then lastly, because iCHORDS is who iCHORDS is, and we want to facilitate people meeting each other, we're going to finish the session off with a meet and greet through some breakout rooms where you will have the chance to meet other members. So essentially, the idea for iCHORDS came about in 2019 when experts in the field of NTDs and the social and behavioral sciences met at a core NTD meeting outside of Washington, D.C. And these individuals at this workshop were discussing emerging areas and challenges faced by NTD programs, and recognize the need for social and behavioral research to help address these gaps. So in 2020, iCHORDS was officially launched with an aim to increase collaboration and communication between NTD researchers, professionals, program implementers when it comes to social and behavioral research. So iCHORDS was developed to support the Sustainable Development Goals as well as the WHO 2030 Roadmap Goals. And iCHORDS was established or conceptualized in the idea of a community of practice. And so why did we pick a community of practice? So the concept of a community of practice, or COP, was established by Etienne Wenger in the early 90s. And this concept is based on social learning principles that argue that people's knowledge is enhanced when they are learning together or in collaboration with others. However, community of practice isn't the same as a group work or a student group or a working group or other group-based activities. For a community of practice to be successful and to be considered a community of practice, it must have three things or elements, which is community, practice, and domain. So community refers to the members that make up the COP. So in iCHORDS is open to anyone and it's free to join. However, our intended audience with iCHORDS is those who work both in NTDs and the social and behavioral sciences. And currently, iCHORDS has over 400 members that span across 55 different countries. Our members also come from a wide range of experience, and something that's exciting about our iCHORDS members base is the high number of students and research assistants that we have who are passionate about NTDs. It really is excellent to see because it goes to show, who we have coming up in the next generation of NTDs and working in this important field. And so the next domain is practice. And this refers to the methods, resources, tools, and guidelines that are developed by the community to support their knowledge base mission and goals for coming together. So the practice component of iCHORDS is demonstrated through our various knowledge translation activities, including the monthly knowledge cafes, our mentorship program, podcasts, blog posts, newsletters, and content that's created by our focus areas. And one example that was something created by our focus area is the toolkit that you can receive by scanning that QR code there on the slide in the bottom left. And we'll get into who this focus area is a little bit more later on in the session, but they came together in 2020 to address issues in the concept of never treatment. And this toolkit specifically overviews different ways that you can help include questions around never treatment in routine data collection tools. And so lastly, the remaining element is domain. And domain is the shared interest that is defined by group members and it brings them together to work in support of this interest. So as I mentioned, NTDs and the social and behavioral sciences is the focus of iCHORDS. And by social and behavioral sciences, we are referring to the methodologies and theories that are based in anthropology, psychology, economics, sociology, social determinants of health, and many others. So it really spans a wide area. And so iCHORDS is predominantly run by our hardworking steering committee. The steering committee provides their guidance and expertise and support to the iCHORDS community manager, which is myself, and they provide this expertise as it pertains to planning, decision-making, and content development. And the steering committee comes together on a monthly basis to make sure that we're meeting our targets and deliverables and goals for the year. And then we also have the mentorship program committee. And the mentorship program committee are volunteers who come together as well with the planning and decision and content development as it pertains to the mentorship program. And perhaps one of the most important parts of their role is the applicant selection process. So screening the mentee and mentor applicants and helping with the pairing for that program. And so later this year, we will be announcing a call for applications for both the mentorship program committee as well as the steering committee. So I just wanted to put that on your radar now to give you a chance to think through whether this might be an opportunity that you would be interested in joining. We will be asking for a resume and letter of interest, but I'll provide more information on that as the time comes. And then lastly, iCHORDS runs as a free platform. So as I said, it's free to join as a member. And so because of this, we require funding, which is provided through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And previously there was funding coming from UK Aid, and this funding is provided through their support of Core NTD. And so every year since iCHORDS has been launched, we've always tried to focus on different ways that we can engage with members more and to increase the reach of the COP. And this year we established 3 main goals that we felt help conceptualize the purpose and mission of iCHORDS. So our first goal is to facilitate the collaboration and connection between those engaged in social and behavioral research in alignment with the WHO NTD roadmap, to advance NTD social and behavioral research by creating opportunities for knowledge exchange, and to respond to social and behavioral research needs identified by community program managers and partners. And so in line with the goals, so far we have been able to produce these various accomplishments. So we have 2 mentorship programs cohorts. The first one we launched as a pilot last year, and we just launched the second cohort just over a week ago. And we have 8 knowledge cafes that have usually had around 30 or more attendees. We have 27 blog posts on our website, and we now have 8 podcast episodes. Yesterday, we launched our most recent podcast, which was recorded in partnership with researchers from the NALA Foundation and with Dr. Doris Jomo from KEMRI. And so this podcast addresses tips and tricks and strategies to consider when conducting a focus group discussion. So I'll try and throw the link to that in the chat for anyone who is interested in having a listen. And lastly, we also have produced at least two resources, such as the one that you hopefully were able to obtain through the QR code through our focus areas coming together. However, as social and behavioral scientists, you will know that not everything can be put to numbers, and we aren't able to display everything that iCHORDS has accomplished on this slide here. And something that is special about iCHORDS is the other partnerships and relationships that iCHORDS has been able to facilitate through networking with members. So one example is the mentorship program, where last year we had 7 pairs made, and this year we have 9. But there's also, connections and relationships that are formed when members are able to attend the knowledge cafes or work together in the focus groups and participate in different activities through iCHORDS. And so this is, something that we can't put on the slide, but something that is still very special to iCHORDS. So there are many different ways for you to get involved. And as I mentioned at the start, a successful community of practice is one where members feel involved and engaged in their community. As well, the purpose of iCHORDS in general is to help share what is being done by researchers, professionals, health workers, community partners, and program implementers in the field of NTDs and the social and behavioral sciences. So as a member, there are many different ways that you can become involved with the community. So if you recently published an article or launched a community program or something else, you're welcome to connect with us, and we can collaborate in writing a blog post, doing a podcast, sharing it from our Twitter account, or having you present in one of our knowledge cafes. We're always looking for content, and we want to share what our members are doing. So if there's something that you've done recently and you want to try and get the word out there, you're welcome to reach out, and I'd be happy to have some conversation and discussion with you about ways that we can help you disseminate that knowledge. And so one way that we communicate about our upcoming events is through our Twitter account, which is listed there on the screen. And we currently have 676 followers on Twitter. And we also have a YouTube channel, which is also listed there on the screen. And we try to record our knowledge cafe. So if you haven't been able to attend one, or you listened to one and you really enjoyed it and wanted to hear it again, then you can go to our YouTube channel and watch the knowledge cafe there as well. I think we have maybe about 5 out of the 8 recorded and available to watch. And lastly, another area that is a practical way to get involved is through the collaboration in the focus area. So our focus areas operate to bring members together to work on and address a specific issue that has arisen in the NTD and social and behavioral sciences. So each one operates a little differently, and these areas are expected to come and go as issues arise and change. So we currently have 3 focus areas, and I will pass it over to a member from each one just to speak to their area a little bit more. So I'll start with you, Allison, and then we'll go from there.
I'm going to unmute myself for starters. Hi, everyone. Allison Kruntel. I'm here from Ottawa in Canada. And I'm going to talk about the focus area that's on never treatment. So this, as Rachel alluded to earlier, we started meeting in December of 2020. And since then, have a group of diverse individuals, a few who are on this call today, who've been looking at issues around never treatment, starting out looking at lymphatic filariasis, but we're continuing to look at new NTDs as well, and understanding really who the people are that we're missing in our mass drug administration programs. And in addition, we're currently working on a toolkit. So the document that you have the QR code earlier was really just an initial guidance on including a question on never treatment into routine programmatic tools. And now we're working together on a toolkit with WHO and PAHO. So yeah, that's what we've been up to over the last couple of years. You may have seen us at Core NTD or in one of the research links sessions. So that's a little bit about us. And I think I'm passing on to Hamid, is that right?
No, we'll go to Beth Sutherland.
Okay,
next.
great. Welcome.
Thank
Beth.
you, Allison.
I don't know if she's on the line, Rachel.
Right.
That's the only
then
thing.
we will go to Hamid next.
Okay.
Okay, Rachel, yeah, thanks. My name is Ahmed, and I'm very glad to be here once more. I am a member of the CDD Strengthening and Support Task Team, and I would like to take the next 2 minutes to talk about what we've been up to in the last 1 year. The next slide, Rachel. So the task team basically tries to embrace the notion around the fact that the CDDs are the foot soldiers of NTD control programs, and then there's a need to support them. And the major task of this particular team is to develop products and tools to strengthen and support the work that our wonderful CDDs do on the field. So basically, the task team was created in 2021, was part of iCHORDS then, and has a membership strength of 23 members, but just 9 of them were active through the year. We've successfully had 10 meetings, and by way of strategy, the way we work, the next slide, from formation, we started with setting out that it's drawing experiences from members, mapping out what members feel about CDD challenges and what we need to work on or prioritize.
Whoops, we may have lost Hamid there. Oh, there he is.
Things that are around
Sorry, Hamid. I think you cut out a little bit there.
And now, am I? Fisher, can you hear me?
It's been cutting out a little bit, Hamid.
Okay. So if you can hear me now, maybe you can give me a thumbs up or something.
Yes, go ahead, Hamid.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. So we've developed a tool. We call it a facilitation guide, just to support what the CDDs do on the field. This guide actually can be implemented virtually or physically, and it entails role plays where we have a simulation of life situations on the field, and then the CDD gets to learn using this via this role plays. Currently, we have 8 designed role plays. You can see some of their list here, and it's on this document. But it's yet to go live, and we'll be glad to welcome members to join our task team in subsequent meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamid. Thank you for sharing that. I will quickly just speak to the remaining task team. So that one is research methods that are used within Mass Drug Administration. And we had our first meeting for that one maybe about 2 weeks ago. So it's a newer or focus area that has been developed, and we're looking at ways to disseminate a guide that was developed by RTI in terms of using qualitative research methods in Mass Drug Administration. And the group is aiming to come together in ways to help advocate for the guide's use, help advocate for qualitative research methods in MDA. And so we'll be looking for participants to help with this process, and looking at developing content and ways to highlight how qualitative methods have been used and how they enhance the information that we can gather from during MDA processes. So that information is on our website. You can go to the focus areas tab, and you can see the 3 that we currently have available, and the registration is open still for the qualitative research methods in MDA. So thank you everybody for listening so far. And now I want to open it up to you as members to give you a chance to provide your feedback and your comments and questions or thoughts you've had about iCHORDS, or anything that you feel like you want to share. So you're welcome to throw your questions, comments, suggestions into the chat, or you can also unmute or raise your hand, whatever is most comfortable for you.
Thanks, Rachel. And we've got a couple of somebody offered a great idea in the chat about Afghan refugees, populations living in Pakistan, and NTDs. So that idea has been generated on the chat. But we'd love to hear from you all if there's any ideas or something that struck you in Rachel's conversation or presentation that you would like to know more about. Otherwise, we'll put everybody in a breakout room. Any reflections? Maybe while we're waiting for people to come up with something, if you're a steering committee member, if you could just put your camera on so we can see you, it'd be really nice to introduce some of our steering committee members are here today. We have Hamed and Rachel and Beth, and I know Evelyn is here too, but I know maybe she's not able to put her camera on. So these individuals, there's Evelyn. Hi, Evelyn. I think she's in the field right now, so thanks for joining us. We are just delighted to and just want to thank them publicly. And there are members of that committee who are not here. So Doris and Jomo from Kenya, and Jordy Woods and Laura Dean. And I know, and Nupendo, thank you. I know I was going to miss somebody from RTI, who many of you may have known in her role as the Tanzanian program manager. So we just are so grateful for these individuals. They have been a part of iCHORDS since the beginning and have really shaped the work that we've been doing and some of what you all see as part of the community. So we're just thankful for all the time that they've given. And I'd also like to invite Maggie Baker and Deb McFarlane and Helen to also put their cameras on if you're able to. These are individuals who have been served on our mentorship committee and who Maggie was our chair the last year and a half. Deb has been a member and Helen is in her second round as serving as a mentor. And so we just want to also just thank them for their time and commitment to the program and to really making that an excellent success. So thank you, each of you, for your time and your commitment to iCHORDS and making it a success. So any comments in the chat box, Rachel, that you've seen?
Nothing has come up so far. Oh, go ahead, Deb.
Hi, good day to everyone. It's great to see so many online this morning. Allison and Rachel, I'm curious, what's the difference between volunteering or doing a podcast and doing a community, a knowledge cafe? I guess I'm a bit confused about what the purposes of each of those are, and if there are indeed any differences in terms of content or areas of expertise. Thanks.
Thank
Your
you, Deb.
insights
Thank
are
you.
appreciated.
Yes, thank you, Deb, for that question. So I would say the main difference between the podcast and the knowledge cafes is just the level of active interaction. So our knowledge cafes are our monthly seminars that iCHORDS members or other experts in the field can share a research project or program or just piece of knowledge that they've done that's in relation to entities in the social and behavioral sciences. And it operates where they typically speak for about 30 minutes and then we open the session up for a question and answer from the participants to try and get that active engagement going and give members a chance to connect with others and learn from each other and talk to each other. Whereas the podcast is more of a recording. So the content that could be shared in either the podcast or the Knowledge Cafe could be similar. This year with our podcast, we are trying to focus more specifically on research methods that are being used in the field of entities in the social and behavioral sciences. We found that the podcast that we did last year, the one or the few that got the most listens or plays were the ones that were focused specifically on how to do something, how to conduct a specific research method. And as I mentioned in the beginning, most of our member base are students and research assistants. So we really want to be able to provide some rich content for our members in that way. So so because it is a recording, there isn't that discussion piece, but it's something that you can listen to on your own in as many different times. So the content that can be shared is similar, but it's just a different way of engaging with the material. I hope that answers the question. And Allison, I see you came on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was also I think the podcast also is in response to some feedback that we heard from Kakundi about how program managers like to get information. And they mentioned that podcasts were a really easy way for them to listen and get information. So although our podcasts are largely focused towards researchers and people interested in research, there's obviously overlap for what our program managers are interested in. So we also saw it as an opportunity to deliver content to them as well in a way that would be easy for them to get information. Great question, Deb. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
If nobody else has one, I'm being a bit pedantic this morning. Sorry about that. Can you tell me what the domain of social and behavioral sciences is, and who, perhaps it's easier to say who is not in social and behavioral sciences rather than who is. So I'm always curious what disciplines and what backgrounds constitute the domain of social and behavioral sciences. Thanks.
Deb, that is.
And as an economist, I always am worried about passing myself off as a social scientist. And I wondered how many others might have that kind of feeling as well.
It's a great question, and it might be nice to open the floor on that because it's something that we have definitely discussed for over the time. And I know Rachel and Maggie were here in the initial discussions as well. Margaret is not on the line, but you know, some of those early discussion, what constitutes social behavioral science. I think what we found in you know, in NTDs is that we all just got lumped into social sciences. And so it was like, oh, we need social science research. So it was trying to say, okay, let's think more carefully about that, what that means. So we have considered economics, we have considered anthropology, sociology. Those are some of the ones that we certainly have highlighted, but I'd love to hear from some of our steering committee members or others on the call. Rachel, I can see you've just put your camera on, so would love to hear your thought on that as well.
I think we were also really looking at the fact that we work across disciplines and that actually we're not looking so much at single methodology or single approaches. And I think one of the strengths of iCHORDS to me was that sort of showing the strength of being able to include anthropologists, include costing data, include different approaches, and bringing that to the NTD world really was such a strength for me. Rather than sort of saying, right, well, that's a parasitology project or that's a this project, was actually trying to show the strength in doing something that was cross-discipline. And that's quite hard. That was quite hard at the beginning. It was quite a new concept. And I think iCHORDS has shown that actually, you know, by raising the voices and making things more person-centric and shifting a perspective or showing different perspectives was really key. So that was, to me, it was cross-discipline.
Great point. Thanks, Rachel. Maggie, are you coming on to chat? There you are. You have a beautiful background.
I'm coming
so
on to chat. I'm in the fields of Arlington right now. Yeah, I think Rachel made some great points there, and that way to ask the hard questions that we're still trying to work out ourselves, right? And I agree. It comes from that background of within NTDs, things came from kind of the wet lab science areas of parasitology, biology, focused on diagnostics and treatment development originally. And then there's been a lot of focus around the epidemiology side of things as well. And it's how to incorporate the others. But I would love a session just on that and thinking about what do we mean by this and where do we go from here. And the area I'm particularly interested, I guess two areas that have also become more important within NTDs recently is health systems research and implementation science. And thinking, do these fit within this group? Maybe we need a different tag to be more inclusive of these other methods, or it's a cross-disciplinary area. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here, contributing to the discussion.
And maybe kind of along those lines, someone in Gloria in the chat just threw in, can parasitology and public health researcher fit within this role? So I think, you know, that's kind of where we're having those discussions, but the the public health side there, I think is the important part, in that you're bringing that cross-disciplinary perspective and community perspective to the table as well. I don't know if anyone else wanted to chime in to add a little bit more to that comment.
Yeah, Gloria, I just want to say 100%. And I think there are parasitologists who are members of iCHORDS because they appreciate the role that the kind of work that members on iCHORDS do. So I think 100%. And I think that's one of the interesting parts about iCHORDS is the breadth of people that have joined and interact together. It's different every time. If you're a regular Knowledge Cafe attender, you'll know that there's always a different group of people online. So 100%, Gloria, we're delighted you're here. Thanks, Deb, for the tough question.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, oh, go ahead, Rachel.
I was just going to say, does anyone have any feedback about, interacting with the Knowledge Cafes or the podcasts or any of the other content? Is there something that you'd like to share in that regard? Go ahead, Maggie.
Just one quick comment about the Knowledge Cafes. I've attended a few, and it's been so refreshing not to know most of the people online. It's been wonderful, I think, to see how this platform is reaching a lot of new people and bringing together, maybe they're not new, but it's connecting people that aren't previously connected within the NTD field. So kudos to iCHORDS for doing that.
Thank you for that feedback. And I mean, that's essentially what iCHORDS hopes to achieve, right? Facilitate those connections on a global platform. So I'm glad that that's the feeling that you've gotten from participating in the Knowledge Cafes. Hamed, I'll go over to you.
Yeah. Also, I share the same experience with Maggie on the Knowledge Cafes. And I've had, regret missing some particular ones. So I don't know if iCHORDS have a link where we can have the what's it called, the recordings of these Knowledge Cafes with their titles, and then our members probably missed due to one reason or the other can just go around and then click.
They are on our YouTube page, and I do try, so when a Knowledge Cafe happens, it then falls off to the past events, and I try and put the link to the recording there, but I will be the first to acknowledge that our website needs some work that I hope we will be able to do to make it a little bit more user-friendly. Yeah, we do have recordings available on the YouTube channel. I can go back and see if I can pull up the channel name exactly for you to search, but I think 5 of them are there. We haven't been able to record all of them, but yeah, they are available, but I will acknowledge that they aren't as easily accessible as I would like them to be. So if we don't have any other comments or questions, I think now would be a great time to allow everyone to meet different members and meet someone who maybe you haven't had a connection with before. As I mentioned, this is what we hope to do with iCHORDS. So you'll have to bear with us for a moment here. We're going to try and put you in some breakout rooms.
Sorry, I lost my connection for a bit.
Oh,
go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, everyone. Oh, good morning, wherever you are.
Good morning, Daniel. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you all. So I'm actually in the field, so on the road.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, my comment is, well, I appreciate the Knowledge Cafe so far. It's been really very informative and interactive. And I personally have been able to learn new things and new areas where people are making endeavors to improve the work in NTDs and improving the NTD outcomes. Yeah. So I'd like to make one suggestion to see how possible it is to do do some form of integrated community project together in different areas, in different regions, and see how we can make a real positive impact, even as a community of practice. I think that will go a long way in creating positive impact and also showcasing who we are to the rest of the scientific community as well. So yes, that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Daniel, for that comment. And maybe if it's okay, I'll email you afterwards to get a little bit more information on your idea, and we can collaborate on that. Allison, go ahead.
Yeah, just to comment, Daniel, it's a great idea. And there are some opportunities right now, I think, in Hamed, you know, the CDD role plays that Hamed was speaking about. We're looking for different places that could trial that and then come, you know, share your experiences and how we might improve that. As we develop the Never Treatment toolkit, you know, we'll need individuals who can test that. Beth Sutherland is now on the line, and the group that the task focus area that she's leading with on qualitative investigations into MDA, low coverage and MDA, also looking for members of the iCHORDS community to trial that toolkit. So I think right now there's some opportunities on the table for members to use some of the guidance that's been developed by iCHORDS members, trial it and provide feedback to the rest of the community. So Daniel, we can follow up with you. But I love your idea also. So we can also follow up on your idea. I think it's a really neat one. But also there are some opportunities right now on the table if you're interested in being part of those.
Akinola, I'll go to you next.
So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just thinking that is it possible for iCHORDS to have maybe a link on the website where you could have actually access some tools like methodological approaches, you know, social science methodological approaches that possibly you're looking for, or you're not able to search. Maybe you're new in this area and you needed to get some information. So if I could have like a link where you could actually access such resources, I think it's also helped to have a lot of an interaction with the website and even getting more people to, you know, interact with even the iCHORDS itself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. We do have a resource page, but it has been under construction for a little bit. And at the moment, I can suggest the Info NTD webpage that has various resources. There's also the NTD toolbox that can be used for resources. And then within our blog posts, we also have various research method highlights that provide an overview, just kind of an introduction to various qualitative research methods, such as focus areas or in-depth interviews. So I do appreciate that comment. It is something that we are trying to develop and make it more of a user-friendly process. So hopefully it's something we can get up and going, but yeah, it's taking a little bit, but thank you for that comment. Hamed, to you next.
Yes, just to follow up with Daniel, that I know iCHORDS have two products. Of course, the one directly developed by iCHORDS, the one Alison mentioned, the Never Treated toolkits, and also the CDD facilitation guide that's currently coming up. Those ones will be, of course, on the site. But I would also like to, just talking from a direct beneficiary of some of these tools, well, regarding the knowledge cafes, and then I think it was Maggie that presented and then shared insights about the entity toolbox, So I think iCHORDS is doing a lot, dishing out those resources, but they need to be created somehow on the sides. And then we also need to invest more in tracking those that use these tools and get feedbacks from them. So it's easier that I wouldn't know. Maybe we have some other beneficiaries too that are not currently in this space now, but we can't hear from them. So, but I'm talking from my own perspective. I've used some of the tools and they've been helpful. So we need to really invest in that and follow up with what Daniel has suggested. Thanks.
Thank you, Hamid. Yeah, the resource page has been something that we've been hoping to get together for a while, but I know it's something that would be very useful to members to have. So thank you everybody for participating and providing your input, and I hope that it was an interesting time and for everybody. So we're going to move into the breakout rooms so that you guys can all have a chance to meet before we close off the session today. So I'll pass it over to Allison to get us going there.
Great, thank you, Rachel. So everyone, you are in a small breakout room, and we're just going to give you, it's kind of like a speed, I guess a speed networking. You're going to have about 5 minutes together. In your groups, there's either a steering group member who will help facilitate the conversation, or someone from the mentorship program to do that. So please turn your camera on if your bandwidth allows, introduce yourself, where you are, perhaps where you work, and maybe share one thing about yourself or that would let your other community members get to know you better. So we'll do that for about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll bring everybody back into the room for a final closeout. So and if everybody should hopefully go into a room. I think I've got everyone here. So have fun, and we'll see you in just a moment. Have a nice thing to do. So I'll pass back to Rachel to close us off, but thanks everybody for being part of that.
Yes, so thank you everybody for joining today. I hope it was an interesting session for you, and I hope you learned something new about iCHORDS, and it sounds like at the very least you learned something new about the other iCHORDS members. So iCHORDS is really here to help get the knowledge out across the globe, essentially, in terms of what you are doing in your work towards the fight against NTDs. So, if there's something that you've been working on that you want help sharing with the community, feel free to reach out to me, and I would be happy to help you in that process. So I'll just put the email in the chat again, just for everybody. And then there's also a bit of a questionnaire to provide additional feedback about iCHORDS, and then in there you can also indicate your interest if you're interested in potentially applying to be a steering committee member or a mentorship committee member, which we'll put the call out later in the year. So feel free to complete that questionnaire, and if there was feedback that you weren't able to share today, there's also a section for you to do that in there. So I won't keep you any longer. We're at the hour. So thank you everybody for joining, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, everyone.